This is a story that will make you angry. Angry at the senseless waste of precious young lives. It's familiar enough territory. A car full of teenagers leaves a party in the early hours of the morning. It has been raining, and the P-plater behind the wheel has been drinking. She's also driving way too fast. Then the worst happens, as it so often does. One teenager dies, 3 get out alive, but only just. And for one of the survivors, Tegan Lloyd, that's where this tragedy really begins.
Go. Let's do some together. Ready?
The broken body of a 15-year-old girl.
And go.
And the twisted wreckage of a little red car.
Maybe a little bit further this way.
We see the awful aftermath on the TV news so regularly, we're almost immune to its misery.
So bend them a little bit when you go that way. Good.
Mostly, our only thought is relief, that we don't know the victims or the grief their families are enduring.
Might get you to sit up from there and then we'll turn around and do the other side.
But tonight, we want to change that and introduce you to Tegan Lloyd, a passenger who somehow survived when this car smashed into a tree. What will you miss the most?
Playing soccer and going to the beach, I guess. Just being able to run around with my friends and stuff.
Do you think about that a lot?
Yeah.
From rising soccer star, a happy and fun-loving teenager, to someone who has not only lost both her legs, but is now a paraplegic. This is the stark reality for Tegan, for the rest of her life. So what would your message be to other young drivers and to other young passengers?
To know that people can die just by doing stupid things, like in a car, and young people can turn out like me.
Do you mean they can be in a wheelchair?
Like, can be in a wheelchair for the rest of your life.
It's beautiful country, the south coast of New South Wales. But the country roads around here, like everywhere else, can be a death trap for inexperienced young drivers.
Somewhere further up, it's lost control and came down in this direction.
4 months ago, Inspector Jason Edmonds got a call in the middle of the night to come here, a few kilometres north of Eden. It was awful.
It is Russian roulette as to whether you live or die. It's simply a matter of fate as to what happens to you once you lose control of a car on a road like that.
Driver, 17-year-old Kylie Poyner's fate that night was to die. On the other hand, her passengers, 14-year-old Michael Clark and 13-year-old Ben Halfpenny, are now back at school. And of course, there's Tegan, still in hospital. It was wet, 3:30 in the morning, and Kylie Poyner had had her P-plates for less than a year. She was driving too fast, and she'd been drinking.
Hey, Kylie, where are we going?
We're going to get some people.
They were on their way to pick up even more teenagers when Kylie lost control.
There's nothing that compares to going to someone's house in the middle of the night because they know straight away. And when you watch the futures that they held for their kids drain away in front of them, it's awful.
If you've ever felt safe or invincible in a car, take a look at this. Kylie's car crumpled like cardboard. She was trapped here in the driver's seat, and this is where she died. Michael, who was seated next to her, was somehow flung into the back seat on top of 13-year-old Ben. Tegan was seated next to him, and she was the one closest to where the car hit the tree. It's quite sickening to see this wreckage and to know how close they all came to dying. Thankfully, all Tegan remembers of that night is what she sees in her terrible dreams.
So my nightmare was like going as fast as we could into a tree.
And do you see yourself in the back seat in your nightmare?
Yeah. But then what makes me hurt the most is seeing Kylie, like I've been told she was hanging out the front.
Knock, knock, Tegan. Stop me. Hi, how are you?
Dr Monica Ling, a spinal rehabilitation specialist from the Sydney Prince of Wales Hospital, has been treating Tegan.
Have you still got those funny phantom sensations?
And they come and they go.
While Tegan's injuries are overwhelming, they're typical of those who survive high-speed car accidents.
Tegan had really extensive multiple injuries. So she had brain injury, she had lung puncture and lung bruising, paraplegia, which has left her paralysed from the chest downwards, internal organ injury with cuts to her kidneys, her liver and spleen, shattering of her pelvic bones, including her hip sockets on both sides, and loss of both her legs from the thighs downwards.
How lucky is she to be alive?
Oh, she's extremely lucky.
As a paraplegic, Tegan needs to relearn the most simple skills, balance and mobility.
There you go. Excellent. Sitting up.
She may have a long way to go, but according to Mum Kelly, Tegan's already come so far.
What was our record again? Got the 20s.
20.
When you were told what her injuries were and when you saw her, what was your reaction?
We were all, pretty cut up and in shock. But
it's okay. It just must be the worst phone call to get, that your daughter's in a car accident.
yeah, it is. But all that we care is she's here and she's getting better and she's doing really well.
It's funny though that they'll all end about here because we can't reach any higher.
Only 23-year-old Heidi Hayden can get away with being so cheeky.
Oh, that's nuts. Look at you with legs. When was
She
that?
too has had the recent road accident. She too is recovering in hospital, and she too will never walk again.
That sucks.
It was so embarrassing.
As soon as I realised, I just broke down and thought I just lost everything until I got out into the rest of the ward and saw everybody else. And
Did it shock you how many other young people are in wheelchairs?
yeah, without a doubt. And that it just keeps happening. They just keep rolling in. Like, it is constant. So it's been pretty scary that the next generation is probably going to be a bunch of wheelchairs. Oh my God. Look at you. Now they can go, oh my God, you're so cool in a chair. That's what mine do anyway.
Cruising the corridors of the hospital, the irreverent Heidi is a healthy distraction for young Tegan.
Ask her about glow-in-the-dark chairs.
But sadly, these two are in great company. Each year, more than 14,000 young people are seriously injured in road accidents. That's nearly 40 a day who end up in hospital with head, spinal or other traumatic injuries.
People often think, well, if I die, I die. But they don't think about being disabled. So just one split second of maybe speeding or having enjoyment and the adrenaline boost can be enough to change the whole course of your life.
Are you still sad at all about what you've lost?
Sometimes I'm like, oh, I wish I had legs so I could do that. And like everybody's like, oh, you're going to have a 16th birthday party and stuff. It's like, well, what am I going to do? Can't dance or anything, so...
That's very good. That's fantastic.
I guess in those early days, there's a real risk of someone like Tegan hating her new body.
Oh, definitely. She really felt like giving up because she didn't feel that there was anything to live for.
That's fantastic.
And it took a lot of coaxing to try and encourage her and show her that there is life beyond her injuries.
Well done.
Have you convinced her?
I don't think fully. And she says that she has adjusted to it, but she still has so many up and down days.
This is one of Tegan's happier days. For the first time since the crash, she is going home for the weekend. Just getting here is a long and slow journey, but waiting for her are family and friends. The enthusiastic homecoming might be too much for this shy girl.
How you doing, Teagues? A bit embarrassed.
But they're just grateful she's alive and grateful for even the briefest of reunions.
Easy, too easy, isn't it?
Yeah. Give a hug. I'll beat you to it.
Hugs. Today only. Oh, pretty JJ.
Perhaps the best thing about today
Oh, God, it's so good to have you back here.
is no one has forgotten how to laugh.
So I pushed this button and the wheelchair collapsed in the main street, and Tegan fell to the ground and her little legs come up over there, and I was crying, and I went round to look at her face. You know what she was doing? Laughing.
You all know Tegan incredibly well. In your view, is she doing okay?
It's amazing. It is amazing. It's really amazing.
And she's got her attitude back, definitely. She didn't lose that at all.
But behind all the support, for these girls, it's still very raw.
You see stuff like Melbourne papers, Sydney papers, like accidents, and it doesn't really hit home base until it happens.
Do you think this will affect the way you approach driving?
Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
Was it something you used to worry about?
No, not at all. I just sort of, woo, normal teenager, go fast, yeah, and then this kind of happened, and it's unbelievable. It's terrible, but we still got her.
As you can see from any of the photos, the results when a car hits a tree at speed are never good.
What upsets police is talk Kylie Poyner was trying to break a local speed record. A stupid challenge amongst the area's young people, attempting to drive 17 kilometres in less than 7 minutes. That would mean Kylie was travelling between 140 and 150 kilometres an hour.
We never think it's going to happen to us, and kids are always going to live forever. It's going to happen to someone else and not them. In a video game, you press a button and you start again. In real life, you don't.
And in this real life, there is a lot of hurt and anger. I know this is probably hard, but does your heart go out to Kylie and Kylie's family at all?
Kylie herself, she's in where she should be, as far as I'm concerned.
So she deserved to die?
I don't have any sympathy for her. I would just wish not to talk about her. She's gone, she's out of my mind.
Do you think that Tegan and the two boys who were passengers in that car need to take some responsibility for being in that place at that time?
No, not at all.
Really?
Not at all. She was the driver, nobody else.
Didn't expect her to try to do this, but I don't hold her responsible for it.
You don't hold her responsible. Who do you hold responsible?
Nobody. But I wouldn't do it again now.
Have you missed her while she's been in hospital?
Yeah, but we get to talk to her sometimes.
Yeah.
When I first talked to her on the phone, I cried because she sounded sad.
At home for the weekend, and Tegan can just be herself. A big sister to 4 little girls doing their best to understand.
Her legs were twisted, so I had to twist them with my arms so she was straight.
It's funny having to help your big sister. She usually helps you, doesn't she?
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes. Tegan hopes to move back home in September.
So if you put something hot there, what might happen?
Might burn me.
You might.
But before then, her days in hospital will be spent learning to be as capable as any other 15-year-old.
I can't lean right down.
Yet.
I can't pick things up off the ground yet.
They're hard lessons for someone used to being so active and so independent. Lessons Heidi Hayden has also had to learn. What sort of tips would you give Tegan right now, who faces the long process to recovery?
Just be happy and be stoked you're alive, because judging by our vehicles from accidents, we should not be here.
Tegan may not feel it right now, but she has been given a second chance at life. And a chance to show other young people that while it may be the last thing on their mind when they get into a car, one silly mistake can be catastrophic. So you never once thought that this could be your future, did you?
No.
Do you think many young people do?
It's not something you think of when you're like this age, when you're like, say, oh yeah, I wonder if my future's going to be me with no legs in a wheelchair. It's not something you consider.